Materials are part of what give game objects their visual form. If a game object is visible, it'll need a renderer. The renderer determines how the shape of the object is drawn in the scene. The renderer then needs a material that describes the color, texture, and other properties that determine how to draw the object. The material in turn needs a shader that determines how light affects this material. The material determines the color, texture, shininess, translucency, and glowiness of the object. Solid colors are the easiest to implement, and these can be any color you can imagine, unless of course you can see infrared or ultraviolet. You can also change how the light will reflect off of this material using metallic or smoothness sliders. The normal and height maps determine how the surface looks. The normal map determines which direction the texture is facing, and the height map determines the depth of the texture. For instance, if you want to make a more realistic corrugated steel, you'll need a stripy height map and a stripy normal map. This is better than just simulating a texture with a 2D image, because this affects how light bounces off the material and allows for dynamic light and shadow effects. The material remains 2D, but the dynamic lighting effects give it the appearance of depth. If you want a material to be translucent, you'll have to set it to fade, and select an alpha value in the color selector, bottom slider, or use a translucent texture. A translucent texture will need to be a PNG, a GIF, or some other file format that supports transparency. You can manipulate the alpha channel of an image using GIMP, which I'll demonstrate later on. To apply a texture to a material, click on the circle next to albedo. Albedo has to do with how light is reflected off of an object, and select Texture, 2D Image. Emission determines whether and how this material emits light. You can select the color and intensity of the light, and whether it operates in real time or is determined beforehand. Tiling determines how the texture repeats over the surface of an object. A higher number means that the texture is repeated more densely, and a lower number means the texture is stretched out over a larger area.